To all who come to this happy podcast, welcome to FreshBaked a happy place where each week we combine our imagination and our experience to discuss, challenge, and explore all things Disneyland. I am Ron Berner. That is, of course, Mr. Fresh Baked himself, the indelible David Erickson.
What's up, Fresh Baked?
And this is episode 12 of the FreshBakedPresents Podcast. Thank you for joining us, where today we're going to explore the Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage refurbishment project. What it means, what it could mean, what's happening. We're going to reach into the mailbag to answer your questions and, of course, get into our 5 things Disneyland. So, David, I found it rather curious. How are you, by the way?
I'm doing great, Ron. How are you?
I am living the dream. I am so living the dream and so excited that I completely forgot to do the cordial introduction to see how you actually were.
Don't forget the cordial.
Don't forget the cordial. We can't forget the cordial. Birthday boy. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Thank
David.
you.
You are very welcome, to you and your beautiful little princess, Sophia.
It's her birthday today as we record this.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. Beautiful, beautiful little girl. So, David, we've long talked about Tomorrowland and refurbishments and the changes and the things that are going on. They're really dragging their feet. They're sort of kicking the can down the road while dragging their feet.
Tomorrowland is probably the oldest can in the kicking the can game. It is the can that's been kicked.
It has. It really has. And I guess the lagoon, the Tomorrowland Lagoon, and the Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage, which we thought, or I at least thought for sure, we weren't going to see again. So then when I didn't think that too much would happen with the lagoon, but because there's just too much tied to it, it's just way too massive. So anyway, the idea of the sign, when they did go behind the walls, and then the sign said winter of 2021, which is what we're in. And then all of a sudden the signs changed to, well, winter. So the can got kicked yet again. So I wanted to see what we could explore and, of course, speculate. And of course, you're obviously privy to more inside information than I may be. So I just wanted to kick it off to you and ask, what do you think they're doing back there, David?
Well, first I'll address that inside. The information that I've heard, the information that I have heard, is none of it's good. None of it's good when it comes to Nemo. Basically, it is the redheaded stepchild of all Disneyland attractions. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to take care of it. Nobody wants to put any money into it. It's been a dead attraction walking for a long time. And anything that I've ever heard about is, no, they can't do this, they won't do that, they're not willing to do this, and it's impossible to do the things that they want to do or need to do or whatever. It is just a pain. Finding Nemo subs is nothing but a pain for everybody involved. And yet here we are at a perfect opportunity for Disney to say, you know what, we're going to wash our hands of the Finding Nemo subs. And what do? They refurb it, Ron.
Yeah, I know. Well... Right, that's what makes it so curious and so interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is that they're doing today. I mean, obviously they drain the lagoon,
Right.
And that's something that we've gotten to see now because of the monorails back up and running. They've drained the lagoon, which means that they're working on all those little set pieces that are in the lagoon, which is curious because they just did that 5 or 6 years ago. Completely drain the lagoon and repainted everything, or whatever it is that they do to them. It's some kind of special paint that they have to use for things that are underwater like that to keep them fresh. That didn't stick. Now, to your observation about it, first it said winter of 2021, and now it just says winter. It's funny because when I read that the first time, I thought, oh, is that next winter, like 2022?
Right.
And then I realized, no. Winter could be January or February.
They bought it sometime.
Of 2022.
They kicked the can.
So my guess is that they decided either A, it's just going to take longer than they thought to do whatever it is that they're doing, or 2, they decided to do more than they were planning to do. I'm not sure I guess they felt like once they ripped the skin off that thing, they figured they might as well do it, right? They might as well do a full job instead of a half a job. That seems logical to me. And again, this is just supposition. This is speculation.
Yeah, that I totally agree with, actually, because that is a massive amount. I don't know what the volume is, but that's a large amount.
It's a lot of water.
And we're California, and we're always in a perpetual drought. So it's a bad look. So to your point, I totally agree that if there was additional things that they wanted to do, that was the time to do it. And furthermore, they probably were looking for things. Since we're here, what else can we do?
Yeah. Now, what does that mean for the Nemo attraction's future, right? So why did they decide to refurb it to begin with is a good question. And then why did they decide to do more is another question, which we kind of just addressed. But, the subject asks, it begs the question, what's the timeline then, right? What are we looking at here? If they did this to Nemo, if they're doing this to Nemo today, what does that mean in the bigger picture? Because obviously, the Nemo situation does not exist in a vacuum. It's so many things. It's funny. We use this term frequently, or I do anyway, frequently with Nemo. It is symbiotic. Nemo is symbiotic with everything around it, particularly Autopia, but it's also symbiotic with the Matterhorn and with the rest of Tomorrowland. What you do to Nemo impacts everything. It impacts so much. Yeah, the monorail. Yeah, right. That's monorail's low hanging fruit. But like you can't, if you want to, let's just say you want to get rid of Nemo. Well, you might as well say goodbye to half of the Autopia track while you're at it, because the things are connected. They're connected literally on top of each other. The underground, the parts in the caves are actually underneath the Autopia track. So if you were to do all that, you'd have to dig it out from the top. If you were to rip out Nemo, you would have to rip out Autopia, half of it anyway. Which to some, they're like, fine, good. They don't care. They're good with that because a lot of people don't like Autopia. But as I often say, you can't, you just can't. And it's the lagoon and its relationship with the Matterhorn and the vistas that it creates are the reason why that attraction still exists, and why they haven't done anything to it yet in its relationship with Autopia. So again, the timeline suggests to me that if they're going to do this, that if they're going to refurb Nemo, it means that we're a very long way from anything happening in Tomorrowland. Because everything, when it comes to a Tomorrowland refurb, it starts with the demolition of Nemo. The Tomorrowland refurb starts with the answer, what happens to Nemo? So if they're going to delay, if they're going to stall Nemo, that means they're stalling Tomorrowland as well.
Right. And also they need to have an answer for all those attractions that you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. They can't have one. It's not like you said, symbiotic. Like they need to know exactly what's going to happen for each of them. And so what are their options? If they refurb and rebuild it in other words, to get the people mover tracks removed so they can add something else there, and then they could do the lagoon the way they want to do the lagoon. Does that mean they're going to bring Autopia back over? Like there's so many things that are going to go. Or are they going completely getting rid of everything with the exception of the monorail and the Matterhorn and the lagoon? I would think that the lagoon remains in some capacity even 10, 15 years down the road. I think of it as the submarine, like the way I always say about the Skyway is I think the Skyway should exist. I don't care if human beings ever get into it, but there should be the visual kinetic energy.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Same for the people mover. I know you can't do it, but just put a freaking people mover on the track and let it sit there.
Exactly. That's true. I agree. I also agree with you that the timeline. So here's the thing. They're not going to blow money when they don't need to. So
they don't have money to blow when they don't need to.
Well, right. So if they're making furthering the point that if they are going to these lengths to touch up, polish, and paint Nemo only, I don't know that that's all they're doing. There might be digital things being done. I mean, that's obviously a much easier situation besides the paint and polish in addition to it. But if they're going to these lengths to do all of this stuff, they're not doing it to buy themselves 3-5 years.
No,
I mean,
no.
They're buying a decade
Yes.
minimum.
I was hoping you wouldn't say buy time in general, but yeah, they are buying time. Absolutely, they are buying time. That is the whole point of the refurb, but it's a lot of time that they're buying. It's not a little bit of time; it's a lot of time because they don't put any money into this thing unless it's going to impact them for a decade or more, because it needs to pay off for that long in order to make it worthwhile. They're not going to put this money in for a short term solution. No, they would just let it rot.
I should know this, but do you know off the top of your head when Nemo went in?
Oh, you mean when it replaced the subs, the other subs?
Yeah, how many
off
years
the top
ago
of my
was
head,
that?
no, I don't. But I want to say it's in the 2000s,
20?
right? Early 2000s, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. And that is a timeline of situation. So every 20 years they got to go in and do that, which means we're at 15 years away.
Yeah. I'm checking my handy dandy notebook while you stall for time.
Well, yeah, my stalling for time was saying, "Where's the Google window I had open for these type of things?" So I guess the other question that I was going to say is, we know that they're paint and polishing, which is needed. They're probably certainly doing maintenance because, of course, that thing is a money pit when it comes to maintenance and those sorts of things. And, absolutely. But before, I was going to ask you about the digital. Do you think that there's any? I mean, we probably would have heard, but do you think that there's any scenes changing, anything new potentially that we have not seen, or is it strictly paint, polish, and buying them time?
2007, by the way, 2007.
Okay.
I was thinking that when you were talking about what they might be doing, I was thinking, gosh, it sure would be nice if they did less digital and more practical inside, because it's all screens. There's a couple of moments inside, in the underground areas where it's practical, but it's mostly digital, and I very much prefer the practical, and I think a lot of people do. But Disney's reliance on screens is well known at this point. So even though I'm hopeful of that, I don't think I can't. It sure would be nice. It would be great. I would be very grateful if they did that, but I just don't see it. I don't. But then I've been wrong about this before because I just didn't see them putting any money into it. I didn't see them doing anything at all. I've been on the record many times saying that we would never see Nemo again. But of course, that was just my own inference.
I agree.
But I still don't think that we should see it again. But somehow here we are.
I agree. I mean, aside from the last year and a half, anyway, isn't that are they grandfathered
right.
in? Because it's a safety hazard all over it.
Ron, the attraction was dead before COVID.
Right,
COVID should have been the
exactly.
final nail. It was the final nail in a coffin that was already 6 feet under. They had built the coffin, dug a hole, and put it in there. And here we are. Now they're refurbing it after COVID. I can't even figure it out.
I agree. I've gone on record many times. I know I get a little bit of ridicule for saying I don't like Peter Pan. I do like Peter Pan, or even or even Buzz Lightyear. I think Buzz Lightyear is fine. I like it. I just think it could be better.
No.
It's so old school like that. So those are the two that people always think that I don't like. But the one I skip the most with Champ when we go, the one I don't really like, and he loves it. When we were kids, I loved it as well. I just don't like. I don't like the getting into it and out of it. Like, it's just so cumbersome, and you're just on top of people.
It is a commitment. Going to Nemo is a full-on commitment. You have to be mind ready. You have to be in your mind. You're going to stand there and you're going to wait, and you're not going to move for half the time you're in that queue because it's such a slow loader. It takes them 15 minutes, it seems like, just to get people in and out of that damn thing. And then you're in the thing, and then you got a 15-minute ride through the whatever. No, it is definitely a commitment. Funny though, my favorite part is getting in and out. I think that's
getting out is my favorite.
Yeah, no, but I think it's neat going down the little stairs. I feel like I love the ballet of the whole thing of the guys getting the hooks and pulling the thing open and people climbing out and sunlight's in their eyes and like, oh my god, we made it, and then the people going down the little spiral staircase. I love the spiral staircase. Those are the components that I like about it. I like the fact that we're getting in a sub and it's all kind of cramped or whatever. That part of it doesn't bother me. I don't get like whatever you call it, claustrophobia or anything like that. Although I do refer to the first one in as somebody who is the death seat. If you're the first one in, you're the last one out. And so when something goes wrong, you're the first to go.
Right.
But anyway, it is a commitment and it's a drag a lot of times. And I get why people don't like Nemo. I really do. And the fact that you have to spend all that time committing to it, to a ride that most people don't enjoy, is just one more reason why I can't figure out how that thing is still even operating.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, two reasons: because it has to, because so many other things are tied to it, and also it's just visually beautiful. Like like the whole lagoon is amazing. Have you ever done it's like the U.S. Marine, like the marine window, like the viewing area?
Oh no, I had never have, but yeah, you can if you are. Yeah, what do they call the disabled access viewing or something like that? Or
it's disabled access viewing, but there's actually something military about it. Like
really?
There's like they call it. I should have done my homework on this. It's called something to do. Maybe I'm thinking military because it's Marine when really Marine means.
You're right. It's not military.
So so I don't remember exactly, but I know that you can go. It's like a Marine viewing,
right.
Something like that.
I've never done that. I don't know why.
I almost did a couple of times, and then for whatever reason, it just never. I never got that crossed off my list of obscure experiences that you can do there. Or
Sleeping Beauty. I have done Sleeping Beauty Castle, but I haven't done Nemo because the Sleeping Beauty Castle has the same thing.
Right.
The walkthrough.
The walkthrough. I've done the walkthrough.
Yeah.
That was also uninspiring, by the way. At least when I did, it was so like. In and out. I thought there was so much more. That's all.
No, you just sit there and watch. You watch the thing, and it's done. Yeah,
and you're done. Yeah. What else was I going to ask about Nemo? So the subs themselves, we know that they painted them. Have they removed any? Is there less?
No, I don't think so. It feels to me like the same.
Yeah, I haven't. I feel like it's been so long that my memory's gone when I like the actual just even see the lagoon because it's been behind walls for months. 2 months at least.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say? Oh, I think Tomorrowland has a queue problem as we're having this conversation. Of course, when you're in the Nemo line, it's beautiful because you're looking at seeing the park. You can see the Matterhorn and the water and the monorail. So that's cool. But I started thinking, I'm like, okay, so they have Launch Bay there. They have Space Mountain, which isn't the best queue in the world.
No.
Buzz Lightyear's not the best queue in the world. Even Autopia, other than unless you enjoy watching the cars drive, it feels like there's part of the like stagnant energy of Tomorrowland that like even filters into the queues.
I do not enjoy. The only vaguely enjoyable queue in Tomorrowland, I guess, is Star Tours because of C-3PO. Right. And having the Star Cruiser there or whatever. But no, you're right. There's not a single like, oh, this is a fun queue. Nemo is unenjoyable. Only that little area that they themed as you get into the covered area of the queue is vaguely interesting. Buzz Lightyear, it's just. Buzz Lightyear, man, goodness, that is just such a B- type effort. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what you're kind of referring to. Is that it feels like they just kind of this'll do, this is good, this is fine. Like I don't feel like they ever really went for it. With Buzz Lightyear.
It feels like live action Chuck E. Cheese. Like
It's just a notch above Chuck E. Cheese. You're right. Because I don't know, man. There's just something about it. It doesn't feel like they finished it. Like it just doesn't. It's just meh.
Yeah, and I love the idea of it, and it's fun. Champ loves it. Like it's just. You're right. There's just something there that is just lacking. It's lacking like that. Character, I guess, like that feel, that vibe, that tone. It's just there. Interesting. I do think that the launch bay, or not the launch bay, that's a whole other conversation. I do think that the lagoon, like everything that's going on, I'm optimistic. I don't know why I'm optimistic. This is naively optimistic because if they're gonna go to these lengths, like bring something new. To go to those lengths just to paint and polish it feels so underwhelming. And I know that they're always concerned about cutting costs and doing that. So why would they bring anything more into a dead man walking, like we call it, dead attraction walking? But just give us something more in the water, like a better visual experience, a practical, certainly like you alluded to. Even if they do the imagery on the screens, have something new. The only thing that concerns me with that is I feel like we would have heard whispers, and since we haven't, it's probably not.
Well, interestingly though, there are a few things that have happened recently that there was kind of a surprise. We didn't really hear in advance. Like
and I love that, by the way.
The holiday shop. That they never teased us about that at all until it was almost done, and then they finally said something. But that's not a big deal. The holiday shop wasn't like a huge undertaking. It only took a couple months to do. But it was to me it was a big deal.
Right? Yeah,
it was a big deal to me.
It definitely came out of left field. It felt like they used to have one though back in New Orleans Square, La Ornamente or whatever it was called. That is interesting. So I guess any other inside information or any other like down the road, what's the hope? What do you have any besides a refurb? I guess there is no hope because the only thing they could do is completely gut everything. Right?
No, I don't have it. There's anything that I heard or knew before got tossed out, like a lot of things, because a lot of plans got scrapped. Joe Rohde's plan, as I understand it, was to remove just about everything. They were going to rebuild Tomorrowland per his direction, per his vision, I guess. Joe Rohde doesn't work for Disney anymore, so they had a whole team. They definitely had an assigned team of Imagineers to work on the project. They had I think a large scale view of what they were going to do. I think they had one, and then it happened. So whatever I knew before does not count now, and what I know, I haven't heard anything new today. But what I can tell you is that the problems with Nemo are the same. Those haven't changed. The fact that it's very difficult to maintain the subs. They have to be done. OSHA is a huge problem with how they're able to update the submarines, the vehicles. There's a lot of OSHA requirements that are difficult to maintain because of the way where they're kept and where it's done. The underground, the underground part of the ride is military grade concrete, which means you need military grade explosives to to get rid of it. You know what I mean? You can't just like, we don't want this anymore, so we're just it's in there. It's built in, permanently practically. So it's those are problems that still exist today. So to your last point, I think that any solution for Nemo is either just try to make it work the way it is or a complete demo of the whole thing.
Right. Yeah, even that OSHA thing, I feel like there's no way that those are safe. Those are safety hazards, like just getting inside of a capsule, like you're trapped in there. There are not enough exit doors within there. How many exit doors do you need on an airplane? I mean, good Lord.
There are things that they got away with, 50 years ago that they're not even close to getting away with today.
Right. And I wonder if that changed anything internally with the subs. Probably not. I'm sure they didn't put like armrests in there to give you more space, less people. But that doesn't make any sense because it's already a very slow moving attraction as far as people.
Oh yeah, that's the Nemo does not need fewer people in the subs. That's for sure.
No. All right. Well, I guess we'll leave it there. Tomorrowland is always a conversation. I mean, we could have the same conversation on Launch Bay, for example, because like Launch
I think
Bay
we're going to, aren't we?
I think we're going to, yes. So I mean, Tomorrowland in general, there's just so much. There's just no direction. They keep, like we said, they're kicking the can down the road. They put up a new sign. They put up a new entrance. They paint and polish Autopia. They just, things are happening around the park or around the land that just, all it does is leads us to believe, okay, they're nowhere close to changing what they have.
Yeah.
Kicking the can. So, David, this week in Disney history, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's learn some stuff.
Let's learn some stuff. Lots of things opened, lots of things premiered, some things closed. So some good stuff. So let's start with the fun, basic stuff here. and I know one of these is your favorite. Chicken Little premieres October 30th, 2005. Monsters, Inc. also premiered this week. And in Hollywood, 5 days later, it opened to theaters. And here's one that I want to know if you have seen. The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. And I did not know that was not a direct-to-video release.
It wasn't?
They
put that in theaters?
That went to theaters in 1998. Well, yeah. So I don't know what kind of release it had, but I know that it premiered in Westwood and it went to theaters. Because I looked it up in my hustle and bustle, and I was shocked because I was like, "Wait a second, that doesn't sound." Have you seen it?
Wow.
It sounds impossible. It does sound impossible. So it might have been a very limited release. Might have been 250 screens. I didn't dive too deep into it. But the fact that it premiered made me think, okay, wait, if it premiered, did that mean that it was released in theaters?
No, they don't premiere direct-to-video, that's for sure.
Right. Well, then I went into it, and it opened. It released in theaters, 98. And have you seen it?
No.
No, me either. I have not seen. I confidently can say, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I don't believe I've seen. Oh, this is not a direct-to-video, it turns out, but I have not seen any direct-to-video, like a part 2 of any of the historic Disney things. I've not seen.
I think I was going to say the same thing, but I do remember seeing Tarzan 2 about 1,000 times because Tristan, when he was little, loved that movie, and he would watch it on a loop. So Tarzan 2, not because I chose to, but because osmosis. Right. I saw Tarzan
VHS
2.
Though, right?
No, it was it was DVD. I think. Yeah, it was DVD.
I just remember growing up as a kid with those big Disney plastic cases of the VHS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. I have a bunch of those still. I have 30 of them still.
I think they're worth something. Those ones are.
I bought mine for $1, so no.
Right. Also opening 2 of our. Well, we'll see. ABC first airs Disneyland TV show featuring The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Part of the film, of course, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. The theatrical release wouldn't come until 3 years later on November 26, 1958. So that the Disneyland TV show aired it on 1955, and interestingly, it didn't go to theaters till 1958. Also, ABC airs the debut, this is 1997 now, of The Wonderful World of Disney show featuring the 2-hour movie, David, Tower of Terror, based on the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror.
Wow, I still haven't seen that either.
Oh, that was going to be my question. So the story on that is that on Halloween 1939, Sally Shine and 4 others all disappeared mysteriously from the elevator in the Hollywood Tower of Terror. Hollywood Tower
you got this, Ron.
Hotel.
You got it.
A lot of teeth in my mouth.
You and me both, bro.
As photojournalist Buzzy Crocker, who was played by Steve Guttenberg, explained when the Tower of Terror movie. But Crocker doesn't know why, after encountering an elderly woman who claims to have been there. He investigates the decades-old disappearance and believes that he knows why Sally Shine, the biggest child star in history, mysteriously disappeared in the elevator that fateful night. I was going to ask you if that made your Halloween watch list. I know that you do frequently see The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I just watched Sleepy Hollow last night. But I have not seen Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. No, but they're actually. What was it? Is it Scarlett Johansson supposed to be doing this now? Is that a thing?
That's another one of my fun facts, and that's a good point. Scarlett Johansson, and this was announced a year ago. She is producing it. She'll probably star in it as well, but she's definitely producing. The remake, or that, I don't know if it's a retelling remake, whatever you want to call it.
Can you really remake a direct-to-video?
a TV show? I don't hate it, but I always say this. Just like the Haunted Mansion, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I just watched that the other day too.
Yeah, it's one of those campy things. Like it's not good. I'm not saying that it's good, but
no.
Haunted Mansion is enjoyable because of the nostalgia to it and the tie to Disneyland. I guess it's a little fun, like so bad it's good kind of way.
Yeah.
Moving right along. and this one seems like it's come up because it has so many different names, and no, it's not the Egg House. In 1986, the Golden Horseshoe Now Jamboree opens, which was formerly the Golden Horseshoe Review. The Golden Horseshoe Review opened with Disneyland in 55 and was the longest running show when it ended in October of 86. The new show, the Golden Horseshoe Jamboree, opened November 1st, this week in Disney history, 1986, and closed in 1994. Man, that place, that Golden Horseshoe, sure has had a lot of names and a lot of different things going in it, but it's been a staple since day one, and that's what makes it so great.
God bless the Golden Horseshoe.
God bless the Golden Horseshoe. Walt Disney checks into St. Joseph Hospital on November 2nd, 1966. Obviously, this is sad news, but the point is, on November 2nd, Walt checked in complaining of shortness of breath and a pain in his left lung. The x-rays later revealed he had a dark spot on his left lung. And in a mortality moment here, he passed away, as we know, December 15th. So he didn't find out about this until 44 days before he passed. Like, talk about, like, oh my goodness, like the life that we all have to go through. So Walt,
like
44 days after he had that shortness of breath, would pass away. And he found out that news this week at Disney history. 10/26/2003, the American Space Experience exhibit closes, and this I don't know anything about. This missed my window. The American Space Experience opened as part of the 1998 Tomorrowland redo. More than any other attraction from that redo, the American Space Experience was consistent with Walt's original intent for Tomorrowland, as described in the 55 dedication plaque, which read, Tomorrowland, a vista into a world of wondrous ideas signifying man's achievements, a step into the future with predictions of constructive things to come. Tomorrow offers new frontiers in science, adventure, and ideals, the atomic age, the challenge of outer space, and the hope for a peaceful and unified world. Walt Disney. Too bad Tomorrowland is not that. The American Space Experience was genuinely about the challenges of outer space and was genuinely educational, but most people who spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars to take their families to Disneyland for the day were not looking for genuinely education science museum exhibits. So it lasted only 5 years until 2003 when it was closed for the construction of David.
I have no idea. Buzz Lightyear. Buzz
Lightyear Astro Blasters, and that's why we saw that painting. That's what that up top was, the
mural,
like the planetary mural and things. That is from that.
Got it. I was going to say that sounded like the kind of thing that Walt would have done.
Yeah, and then I feel like use that plaque as a way to if you want to figure out a Tomorrowland. I mean, he's kind of giving you the blueprint of what he wants it to be, but again, we know it's kind of a moving target because time always catches up. We're always going to catch up to it. Disneyland Showcase Shop opens on Main Street on October 27th, 1989. And the shop fills the space that was originally the Wurlitzer shop, which I don't remember. This is across from the Emporium on the corner. Mm-hmm. The Mission to Mars attraction closes, David, on November 2nd, 1992, which was originally Rocket to the Moon when Disneyland opened in 55. It was refurbished to Flight to the Moon in 67, and in 1975 the destination was changed to Mars because humans had already been to the moon. Yeah. And even during that time the attraction had become considerably dated.
That story, by the way, was, if I recall correctly, if I understand, or if I remember my history correctly, that was one of the impetuses for Walt being the first to say that Tomorrowland was more like Yesterland because he couldn't keep up. And that was one of the examples. They had to change the mission to the moon almost as soon as they built it. They're like, it's no longer relevant.
Yeah. Think about that, right? Like, okay, how about the moon? This is such a grand idea. Like, we're going to have an attraction based on an attraction to the moon, like another planetary world, like, so to speak. And all of a sudden, they can do that. And even Mars nowadays, you can't do. I mean, won't be long.
Yep. No, you're right.
Crazy. Okay, so this is a very, very, very interesting I knew about this from grad school, but I did not know about it until grad school, which was just a year ago. In 1986, This Week in Disney History, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck are shown for the very first time in the People's Republic of China.
Oh.
Chinese television launches a weekly half hour of old Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse cartoons. Disney characters were banned in China in a complicated Chinese film censorship mandate for nearly 40 years.
Wow.
So hardly anyone in mainland China knew who Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, or knew that they even existed. The ban wasn't lifted until 99 and Disney's releasing of Mulan. So cut to, also This Week in Disney History, November 2nd, 1999, the Hong Kong International Theme Parks Company formally announces that an agreement has been reached with the Walt Disney Company on building a Disneyland park in Hong Kong. It will be 299 acres built on Lantu Island, and building costs are estimated at $3.6 billion. The Walt Disney Company will invest $316 million for a 43% share in ownership. I know. There was a lot of other contingencies going on. The Hong Kong government will pay $1.7 billion for land, road, and infrastructure development, and they will lend $718 million to the park. The park was scheduled to open in 2005, which would have been 6 years after this announcement. And on September 12, 2005, Hong Kong Disneyland opened and became the 11th Disney park.
Wow.
Can you imagine a world or a country? I feel like, ironically, I asked this last week or 2 weeks ago, like, Mickey Mouse, where on earth would you not know Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
And little did I know that Mickey Mouse was banned. I should have known. I should have remembered. I should say, I wrote a darn paper on this. And one of the things that came up in the paper, which is, I'm only saying this because it's interesting, you talk about Disney's arrogance. It's called ethnocentrism. Mm-hmm. Ethnocentrism, when you are so arrogant that you do your own thing, thinking that a country is going to adapt to your way of doing things instead of you.
Mistakes, yeah.
They made those mistakes. Euro Disney notably being one of them.
Yep.
So get this. That was what my paper was on. So get this. Hong Kong Disneyland was, Disney executives made a poor decision of advertising to Chinese families of 4 when the law in China is you can only have one child.
That's right.
And this is a true story that Disney had. And this is why I'm fascinated by operations. So if you look at their parks and you look about what they've done, they made mistakes, but they've also corrected those mistakes by prior to opening all these other parks, which they've done very, very, very successfully because they've got over their own arrogance. So it is actually fascinating when you dive back into some of the mistakes that they made. Like another example is broccoli. I think it was Inside Out. They had to, because they've adjusted. Broccoli is obviously very popular item in Asia, so they changed, like in Inside Out, broccoli's bad because in America, like kids, so they had to change it to bell peppers in China, and for the Asian market. So the movies in different markets are different. So anyway, that was This Week in Disney History. David, did you learn anything exciting?
Yes. I do love these little bits because it does remind me a lot of things. But yeah, that was very interesting. Very interesting.
It is very interesting. Mailbag, David. All kinds of good stuff that you get to answer and dive into. And we're starting with Disney Steve. And this is one I'm sure that you have thought about night and day for 20 years. If you were an Imagineer, what part of Disneyland or DCA would you first create or reimagine?
Number one with a bullet. Actually, no, it's just number one. It had a bullet. It just started there. The Hollywood backlot is the worst land in any Disney park, in any country, in any place. The Hollywood backlot is my nemesis. I don't like it. I don't like anything. I don't like the idea of it, nor do I like its execution. If you were to give me, the blue sky on that, my first choice would be to level it, to just burn it down to the ground. I prefer a pile of dirt over whatever it is that they have there right now. But if I don't have that option, if you make me reimagine the Hollywood backlot, I would I would do my best to get rid of that whole faux facade, business that they do there. You see, you walk around the back lot and you can see that it's a fake, right? The facades to all the attractions are fake. Intentionally so, because that's what it's like on a back lot. That whole concept I hate. I would get rid of that. But I feel like I want it to be, it needs to be an extension of either Buena Vista Street or Marvel. Or Avengers Campus. I prefer Buena Vista Street. I prefer that they make it like a lived-in Hollywood. You can keep the Hollywood theme. Just you're on Buena Vista Street, make a left, and you go to Hollywood. But there's already Hollywood Boulevard, right? That's that street. Then you turn into the back lot. Just make it so that it's where the world that exists, not a studio, but the city of Hollywood. Make that a thing. If you're not going to do that, then tear it down or reimagine it as an extension of Avengers Campus. And I don't even know what that looks like, but I'm sure there's some creatives that can figure that out. But the back lot is perhaps the least interesting, least well-executed thing that I can ever imagine Disney having ever done.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me when I think of this question and when I think of what you were just discussing, I agree with it being the worst land that Disney's ever done because it's so incomplete. There's nothing there.
No, it's nothing.
It's just a big waste of space.
So much space. There's 2 empty stages. And the third one is filled with Philhar Magic, which is not interesting to me at all either. Like 3 empty stages, really.
Right, they could have done Philhar Magic properly if they were going to do it, right?
Yeah,
with the extension of the 360 view. It reminds me of the corporate America business meetings that I have. It's like, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. And all I can do, frankly, is point out the problems because I don't have the solution for the back lot. I don't know. Everything you said I agree with. I do like the notion a little bit. So just on the main street, though, on Buena Vista, like not Buena Vista, but they have the Hollywood Boulevard. If they had traffic crossing there and there's something to appear like old Hollywood in that essence, just that little area is fine. But the whole entire back lot is way too much. I will say I don't like the idea of it becoming Avengers Campus because I don't want Avengers Campus to take over DCA, but I don't also know what to put over there. I originally thought of way back when, like Indiana Jones or some sort of a live show, like a stunt show. But I don't know that works, and then they've already done that, so I don't know what to do back there. I don't know.
That about sums it up, right?
Yeah. Well, I was like touching on what you had said. What I would redo is, I don't like the way they did Toontown. I like the idea of so I like in theory I'm a huge Roger Rabbit fan. I love Roger Rabbit immensely. I love the idea of Toontown. In theory it makes so much sense. The execution of it was I almost like it probably worked at the time and it was fun, but it's dated. It just doesn't work at all anymore. So let's do something that's really, really going to target the young kids. We don't even have It's a Bugs Land any longer. So something, I know that all kids can go on Fantasyland. Let's just do something that will for parents and children alike, all 4 quadrants, redo Toontown. And now that they have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway going back there, which I am extremely excited about it. It looks awesome to me. Just the storytelling, the visual, the even the entry, the queue that they're going to have is very appealing to me. So that idea and expanding upon that and making Toontown like really worthy and bringing it up to the 21st century or what? Are we still in the 21st century? I don't even know. But Toontown leaves something to be desired, I would say.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Bring it up to speed.
Yep.
Christy and Death Star. 85 asks David, who are your favorite Disney characters?
Okay. I guess I'm a classic guy. I like the classic leads. Mickey Mouse. I'm a Mickey Mouse man. But if you want me to, in any story, Woody. I prefer Woody in that story, that kind of thing. But if you want to get a little more, I do Edna Mode. I've always loved Edna Mode's character from Incredibles. I think she's great. Baymax from. I didn't enjoy the movie Big Hero 6, but I think Baymax is a fantastic character. I love his character. Wreck-It Ralph. Big fan of Wreck-It Ralph. Both the character and the movie, but I mean specifically the character. I love his arc. I love his, I like characters that are big but are soft at the same time.
Right.
Baymax is another example of that. They look intimidating, but they're really just regular guys who just want to be friends. And they want to have love in their heart. Right. So those are my favorites. And I guess Edna's like the opposite. She's tiny, but she's big.
Yeah, well, that's funny that you say that, because you know who I love is, that reminds me of her in a way, is Maz Kanata.
Oh, yeah. She's very much an Edna
Tanaka.
mode. Yeah.
Where's that Wookiee? I love that Wookiee. Like, she has a great personality. But she wasn't on my list. To your point, you can name a Disney movie and I could tell you the character that I love in it. There's so many. Might be one of the most difficult questions I've ever had to answer, because there's so many characters that I do love. I can't even think of. I mean, they're all so unique and different. But I put Donald Duck has always been my favorite original character. I mean, I love them all. Like you said, Mickey. I love Donald because I love the fact that he has such a wide emotional spectrum. Like, the guy. He swears. For one thing, he swears. No other no other character has anger as part of their repertoire. Like, they just don't get and he has this whole thing. He's also sweet when Daisy's around. He's got flowers and butterflies over his head. He's just goo goo gaga for her. Like, he's with his nephews. All he wants to do is lead them in the right direction and help them out. And like, Donald is a really unbelievably well-rounded character in so many ways, and I love him. Just to name a couple other ones, I love Tigger, because that's what a Tigger would do. I love he's just so springy.
Yeah.
Darth Vader, of course, and Jack Skellington, of course. But that being said, there's
a lot.
There are countless characters I love. I could go right down the movie list, which I intended to do, is just go down there, because there's even characters in live action. Bert from Mary Poppins.
Love Bert. Yeah.
David, here we go with Launch Bay. Anthony Ryan 88 asks us, Tomorrowland is a unique problem that Disneyland has had since its inception. There is a lot to be done, but what should be done specifically with the Launch Bay?
Again, this is my solution to a lot of problems. I like to burn things down. Because the reason for this is different. The design of the building, its construction is not. It just doesn't work with modern attractions. You can't put anything else in there. You can't put something else it's just not. You need something purpose built for what you're trying to do, rather than try to make something fit inside this stupid circular building. Just tear it down, for God's sakes. But I think that's the reason why it's never gotten a decent update, is because Disney knows this. They know that they can't, they're not going to put in, just like, everything else at Tomorrowland, they're not going to put a lot of money into doing something, because they know that way down in the distance, they're going to have to destroy it, because Tomorrowland, as constructed, it just doesn't work. So that's why you never get anything good at Buzz Lightyear, or, you can't think of anything good for Nemo or whatever, because they just know. I mean, just tear it down. Just tear it down. I'm done.
I'm done. It's so funny. That's exactly what I put. I put remove it. The problem goes away when the problem goes away.
And that's literally what Joe Rohde did. In that video, I love it. He personified in his actions what every one of us wants him to do. He just picks it up and take it out of there.
But yeah, to your point, you make the key point in all this is also say remove it, because the problem goes away when the problem goes away. But the problem can't go away until they know what to do with the entire land. So all these other things that we talked about. So you make the exact point I was going to make, and I agree that how can they do anything with it but leave it there until they know the whole plan? Yeah, exactly. It's the new People Mover tracks. Exactly right, and it's so funny because that. Like you said, that building, so it's multiple floors. Like, how is anything ever going to work in there outside?
It doesn't, obviously.
Unless, right.
They've tried. Nothing works in there.
unless they hollow it out and try to do an operatic, like have a concert in there. Like,
who wants to see that though, Ron? Who wants to see an operatic?
Oh, I
concert
know, but that's what I'm saying. As far as the building, like the building could only be used for something like that, is what I mean, or storage or something. And then obviously it's gonna think about the cost that is. Like when they demo it, like you know what I mean, how much they're eating. That is just eating money. When like it is either way you cut it, but tearing that thing down and then rebuilding it is whoo. That hurts the paycheck.
They can't. They're not going to do anything with Launch Bay until they figure out what they're going to do with Tomorrowland. So Launch Bay is just going to be a rotting carcass, like the People Mover tracks and the People Mover that thing in the middle of Tomorrowland that just sits there. Whatever the loading area for People Mover, Finding Nemo, Autopia. Until they solve the big Tomorrowland issue, all that stuff is staying just the way it is, and it's going to look like crap for the next decade or more. Sorry about it.
I hear you. I agree. So David, we'll save the next 2 questions for next week, or the next 1 question for next week. And then we'll get into 5 things. Disneyland, thank you all who submitted questions, absolutely. And 5 things. Appreciate it like crazy. Do it again. I didn't send out any social media asking for it this past week, but I'm going to this week because every time we get low, I want you to fill us back up. So this week, the Girly Nerd asks top 5 things at either park you've never done or experienced but want to.
Well, this is hard for me because there isn't anything really. I mean, there's a couple things. I think, there's 2 things that I listed on here that I've actually, in today's present Disneyland, that I haven't done, that I can recall. So I have to round this off to things that I never got to do, but wanted to. They're gone now.
That's awesome too.
Yeah. So number 5 for me, I never saw or never went to Videopolis, and that's in my mind. I feel like I missed something by not getting to go to Videopolis. Over there in the old, or what's now the Fantasyland Theater. That because I'm an '80s kid. And I just feel like I missed something. And I even missed the '80s night that they did there, where they kind of recreated the Videopolis theme there. So I'm going to go with that as my number 5 because I wish I could have.
That I obviously didn't do that either. That's a good way to actually do this list, though. And I had thought about that for you. I always think about that.
I've done everything.
Well, I think about that for you too. Is like your park experience is a whole different conversation.
I know, right?
You don't experience the park in the ways that most of all, even me as an AP or whatever you call it, experiences it, because you have that whether you admit it or accept it or not, you have that agenda in mind rather than to just shut everything down and like just enjoy the park. Even though I know you're going to say that you do that, but you don't. There's
absolutely a checklist in my head that since I've been going to the park, that checklist has been getting checked off on a regular basis, and there's nothing left. The last thing I checked off was going to Disney Junior, and I did that for the first Oogie Boogie in 2019.
Right.
That was the last thing. Going inside that Disney Junior building was the last thing that I hadn't done.
Well, there are things on my list too, because before even being a part of FreshBaked, that's why we were talking about the marine thing at the Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Like all these obscure things I wanted to experience because I just was so into doing something. I don't like the like jumping out of an airplane, right? I don't like the conversation when other people are having it, and I can't participate because I didn't do it. Yeah. So these are my 5, or my number 5 is basic, but I've never stayed at any Disneyland hotel ever, and
really?
I would like to. Never, ever, ever. I mean, I live here, so I should, and I want to. As a matter of fact, I've never been in to eat at the not Floridian. I almost said Grand Floridian. The Grand whatever. California. Yeah. I've never eaten there. Been to the bar to get the. I know.
You should.
But I've never.
Staying the night at a Disney property, getting up in the morning and going through the gates is one of the coolest experiences.
Yeah, I want to do it. I guess I never did because I was, baller on a budget.
Right. No, I hear you.
Number 4.
Okay, number 4. You'll like this one. I have no memory of ever being on the Skyway. I feel like I've missed something with that. I may have done it, but I don't remember it. I've never, so I can't say that I can't. It's hard for me to empathize. Like, it's hard for me to like say, yeah, that was a cool thing. I miss it in the way that you do. Yeah, I that's something that I wish I could have had the opportunity to do. And I would be grateful if we could. It's one of the reasons why I want to go to Disney World, just so I can ride their dang Skyway buckets.
100% agree with that. Yeah, so, by the way, I love the Skyway because of what it visually looks and what it visually brings to the park. I think it cannot be replaced. But it terrified the crap
Yeah, no, it's scary. I'm afraid of heights. I really am.
And funny that you say that because I've never been on. Well, I don't recall the People Mover. I was there during that time, and I remember visually seeing it. I just don't remember it. I mean, you're like a young kid. It just wasn't something that I cared at all about getting on. And I don't remember ever being on it. I'm sure I was. It's just one of those like blank spots in my head. Is saw it there, remember it, but I don't recall being on it. So interesting. My number 4, VIP tour. I've never gone with a plaid. Never done it.
I've never done that either. Actually, I could have put that on my list. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've heard great things. I've seen how I've talked to plaids just out of fun, just asking them if they'll walk with me, just so I look like I'm famous for a minute. Just joking, of course. They're always everybody's such a good sport all the time, so it's always fun to talk to cast members. I have heard some great things, and I've even got like a little bit of a rundown of how long it takes to do things, and then some of the benefits that they do. I know hear stories of if you have a iPhone, it might have been Ordinary Adventures.
They just did one recently, yeah.
Yeah, and they had an iPhone that went dead. Somebody in their party had an iPhone that went dead. They told the plaid, and the cast member wearing plaid definitely like texted or called one of his co-workers or whatever, and they brought him a charging a charging thing for just because they were in the VIP group. That kind of like treatment is really, really cool, and it would be fun to experience just to hear what they have to say, because I mean they also provide you with lots and lots of fun details, so that would be cool.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Okay. This is my third, and things that I never did that don't exist anymore, but I wish I had. I can't. I'm just drawing a blank now. The stupid Hollywood ride that was used to be where Monsters Inc. is. What was the name of that ride?
The limousine?
Superstar Limo.
Superstar Limo.
I never got to ride Superstar Limo, and because people joke about it all the time, and I'm just like, I can't participate. Like you were saying, I can't participate because I don't remember that.
Yeah, I've never been on that either. I have been on the Malibu. I went in 2001.
Yes, that I've done.
Yeah, I went in. I think when I first moved back to California, and I went to DC. I think I mentioned this before, and I was the first time I'd been in DC, I'm like, oh my gosh, a new gate. I had been gone for college and high school, and when I came back, I couldn't wait to go. And we went, and I had friends visiting. So then, of course, I was bragging about Disneyland, and then we went into the new gate, and they to this day rip me for taking them into DC because I didn't know either. And the only thing we did was went on the Malibu and California Screaming, and we walked around the lagoon, and we're like, this is it? This is the whole thing. So I don't even think we knew about the backlot. We were just so furious we wanted to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
So we paid to go in, and it was not enjoyable. And this was 2000, right when it opened, 2001. My number 3 is, I almost did this a few times, the Lily Bell. They stopped doing it. So
yes.
When I did go to talk to them to try to get Champ and I on, they had just stopped doing it within weeks. So I missed that window, and I didn't know about it.
Well, they were still doing it, though, as part of a tour.
Right.
But now they don't even do that, right?
Yeah. I don't know what it currently is. I think if you're on to your point, I think if you're on a tour, you can do it. But as far as just requesting it, and if nobody else gets on it, like anybody can do it, that ended about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, it's
4 or
been
5
a little
years
bit.
ago.
But I don't think they do that tour anymore either, though, the train tour. I don't think they do. They don't do any tours, it seems like, right now. So
Right. Yeah, so I missed it, and that was always something that I thought was there, so I wasn't like necessarily racing to do it. I just planned on doing it. And literally, I found out by going up to them and saying, no, that just ended like last month. I'm like, heartbreaking.
That's great. Lily Bell's great.
Yeah. Two.
Number two. There are two things I realized that I have never done. It's kind of minor things, but I put these at the end. I've never had my silhouette done, or a caricature for that matter. I've never sat down and had them do either a silhouette or a caricature. The one on Main Street and the one in New Orleans Square. Now I'm not in a hurry to do that. I don't miss it, but it's something that I don't feel like I need to. But that is a thing that is one thing that I've never done.
The silhouette place is entrenched in my childhood. All of my cousins and my grandparents got these for us, and we did it. And so growing up, they were on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
So my childhood home, growing up in Oxnard, my grandma's room, those silhouettes were there. So when I took Champ there as a kid, it's on my wall back there.
Oh, right on.
I took him to get his silhouette because, and it looks exactly like mine. And now I believe that they only know how to cut out like three different kinds of boys. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a trick to it.
You're so right.
There's like a trick to it. Like, wait a second, that looks identical to mine. 30, 40 years ago.
That's funny.
So I love the silhouette. I do love it. And he did his caricature. I'm not sure that I ever did it. I don't recall doing it. But I love your choices. I love the nostalgia vibe.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Club 33.
You've never been to Club 33?
I've never been to Club 33, and I would pay handsomely to go.
It is handsomely. If you do go, you do have to pay handsomely.
I even looked on the wait list for that. It's like you need to an entry fee. First of all, there's a wait list, not to get into the club, but to get into the club,
Sure.
not the actual physical location,
Yeah.
like the club. Like $30,000 or something to get on the wait list.
$30,000 just to get invited or just to get in. Yeah.
Right. I want to do Club 33 so badly because it's Disneyland. I don't know. I just want to do it, and it's not about some sort of elitism. It's just because it's so exclusive.
I get you.
It's so rarely done. Just to go in there and just to have a meal. I mean, it would be so cool. Again, like what we were talking about, just to say you did it, because I know that we've had the conversation that you've done it before.
Yeah.
So tell us how wonderful is it?
Well, it is. The best part for me about Club 33 is actually going out on the balcony. That's my favorite part.
Sure.
Being out there in New Orleans Square and being on that balcony outside and looking at Disneyland from below or from above. That's my favorite part. The food is good. I mean, it's good. It's fancy food, etc. It's not really my thing. I don't do fancy very well. To your point about the VIP tour, I can't imagine myself even doing that. It's just not something I feel uncomfortable in those situations. I feel uncomfortable in fancy settings.
I do agree with that. I feel uncomfortable when people do things for me.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. No.
So I was an 80 on film sets, and there's production assistants running around.
Yeah.
So they're constantly bringing water, and they're constantly bringing. And I would always tell them, I was saying, you don't have to do that. I'm capable. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to cater to me because I'm the boss. You don't have to cater to me. I don't like that. It's all good. Yeah. And I would be so respectful to them. So I agree with you on the VIP thing. It was more of a, like I said, just to experience.
Sure, check it off the list. Yeah.
Just to check it off the list. Yeah. Number 1, David.
Number 1 for me, and I'm surprised that I don't know if they're doing it today right now, but I'm surprised I've never been in a tender ride on the train. I've never ridden in the front, engine car of the Disneyland Railroad. I don't know why, because it seems like the kind of thing that I should exactly be doing. Like, that's in my wheelhouse, is going on a tender ride.
I didn't even know that you could.
You could, yes. Well, that's the thing. I know you could before. I don't know if you can today. But even just a few years ago, it was a thing. I know that.
Interesting. So I'm really disappointed. Not disappointed. That's not the right word. I'm really so bummed out that you have got to do all these things on my list, and I haven't, because my number 1 is Walt's apartment. And
I've been to Walt's apartment.
You've been to Club 33, Walt's apartment, and the Lily Bell.
Yeah.
Those are 3 things that just break my heart that I haven't experienced. And they're on my bucket list. They're my Disneyland bucket list. And I think, I don't think 2 of them are even possible. So probably I'll never do any of them. So
no, they'll be possible again in the future, but because they do Walt's apartment tours. I mean, that's a tour. they just have to restart the tours again, and I think you'll get a chance.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to do that because that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, David. Well, that was that. Anything you want to add about Tomorrowland? I'm sure we'll probably never talk about that again.
Yeah, can we just get there? Because I don't want. Man, this conversation has just been going on for as long as I can remember. So no, I have nothing new to add to the Tomorrowland conversation today, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly because it will come up again, and so will the backlot, and so will so many other things. But thanks for tuning in today, as always, for making us part of your day. And next week, join us as we get into, who knows, but there's new holiday transitions are coming. I know, I can tell you this, we are definitely going to talk about our favorite Jungle Cruise jokes. Yeah, that's a little teaser. I should be much better at the teasers for the next show, but I don't know what we're going to do on this show until an hour before the show. So thank you all, and reward us with a review or give us a constructive feedback and criticism, because I'm always happy to improve my game. And David, until next week.
FreshBaked.
FreshBaked.
Oh, that's so close, Ron.
I was working on it. I've been practicing in the mirror. I don't like the face I make when I do it.
All right, let me stop. By the way, I have not seen your